What's up, everybody? This is Ben here. I have never really started a video or even talked about my Camaro much at all. I've had this car for a year and a half now, something like that. And this is a 2019 ZL1 1LE 6-speed manual car. It's in Riverside Blue Metallic, and I love this car. It's beautiful. I almost never drive it. It's one of those things that, like, I just feel like I don't want to put miles on it. It's almost kind of collector feeling to me because Chevy has announced that they're going to discontinue the Camaro, especially as far as its internal combustion engine powered Camaros, and this is the peak Camaro right now. They have not made a car superior to the ZL1 1LE, and I just don't want to touch it. It's got low miles. It's 100% bone stock, other than I tinted the windows. And the reason I decided to go ahead and start a video about it is I'm going to put new tires on. That's something that I want. The tires, I think, are just from the factory. They're just not very good. Everybody talks about the ZL1 1LE and how it's such a track capable machine and it's amazing and blah, blah, blah. But every time you read like a review in Car and Driver or something, they talk about the tires are kind of a weak point. And now that the GT500 is out with over 700 horsepower, it's an awesome Mustang Cobra, but the tires are better, therefore it puts down better lap times, or it has in the reviews. But they felt like the Camaro was overall a better track machine as the 1LE. So anyways, whatever, that's opinions, I guess. But I'm surprised because GM goes on and on. They have like a whole big giant spiel about how badass these Goodyears are that are apparently a compound design specifically for these cars and for the Corvette. They're giant tires. They're a special 19-inch tire just for the 1LE, and for, I think, a certain package of the Corvettes had this, maybe a Z06, maybe the Z51 package. I'm not as familiar with Corvettes. But I dusted it off. I dust it off like maybe once a month and go drive around the block. Take it out for a date night or something like that. The reason I get it out today is because of this. I had the oil changed at one of my local dealerships, the dealership that I prefer less, actually. And when I drive home, I park it, and then like a few days later, there's oil running out. So I think the oil filter is just loose. I don't believe they tightened it down. Either that or they spilled some on the cross member. But as you see, I ran over it, so there's just even an oil slick on my tire. But whatever. I'm going to take it to another dealership, a dealership that I prefer to do business with. I buy a lot of work trucks and stuff from another place here in town. So I'm going to take it to them, just make sure they give it a little stamp of approval. It might need filter just to be topped off, or filter to be tightened, and then have the oil topped off. But I want to make sure that this is logged and everything, because it's still under warranty. And like I say, I have not touched the car, and I don't really plan to. But I've ordered new tires from the same guy that got me tires for my EVO. So I've got some nice new, I think I got 888s, Toyo 888s. I've heard they are amazing. So I'm looking forward to those. I'll get that in another video. These are actually, so it's a funny story. When I bought this car, so I'd been shopping for a Camaro for a while. My Camaro story is I had a 2010 Camaro SS, black on black. It was a 2SS, black on black, with kind of loaded, leather inside and stuff like that, and a stick shift. Loved it, had it for less than a year and had to sell it. The reason I got that car, it was a trade deal. I traded a customer owned a car dealership, and I could sell him a bigger system for his house if I did some trade work with him. So I traded a car. I was able to get a ideal Camaro. So I had that 2010 for a while, but I couldn't afford to pay the cost of his equipment for that system. So I sold the car. Anyways, long story short, I had a nice Camaro. It was a SS, 6-speed, black, and I loved it. Had it less than a year, but it was a fun little toy for a minute. Didn't really lose money on it or anything, but I had to get rid of it to pay the bills. So just couldn't really afford it anyways. The only reason I got it was because of the trade deal, and once that had expired, it was gone. And then a few years later, I got a 2016, which is the first year model of this generation, the 6th gen Camaro. It was a 2016 that was very similar to my 2010. It was a black on black 2SS, 6-speed. Love that car. I didn't really do anything to it either. Most of my Camaros have all been stock. I did put in like different lights and stuff in that my 2016. Had it for about 2 years and then sold it because I was looking to upgrade to a ZL1. And I sold it right around the time that I was going through some personal stuff, had a divorce happen, and then coronavirus hit like during that same time. So all of a sudden cars are super hard to find. So I'd kind of been looking for a ZL1 for a while, for probably a year or so. And I happened to be in Scottsdale. I was there for something else, probably for one of my off-road vehicles or something like that. And I had an empty trailer with me. And I just happened to be looking around, and I found 3 Camaro ZL1s for sale in the area that were sitting at dealerships that were a 6-speed. I could find about 10 automatics, but I insist on a manual transmission. It's just so much more fun. So I went and looked at the first one. It was a white 2018, I think, and it was a ZL1 non-1LE package, 6-speed. Well, I went to the dealership and somebody else had already signed for it, but it was pending financing approval. And I sat there for about an hour. I looked at some other stuff, and that dude's financing went through, so that car was gone. The salesman immediately tried to sell me other Camaros he had, but they were all automatics. I wasn't interested. So then he immediately tried to sell me other manual transmission cars that he had, just cause he just thought that's what I wanted, but whatever. So after he tried to sell me like 3 or 4 different Mustangs that were stick shifts, I didn't care. I wanted a manual 6th gen Camaro ZL1. So anyways, I left that place and went to look at other cars. So went to the first dealership, and they were advertising a Riverside Blue Metallic 2019 ZL1 1LE 6-speed. I didn't want a 1LE, so I wasn't that interested in the car because this is a street car. I'm never going to really go to the track or anything like that. So I didn't really want the 1LE package, but I was interested in the car, and they were really hard to find. And I love the blue, and it had really low miles. It was only like 2,000 miles on it. And the price was pretty good. So all things considered, I went and looked at it. I went to the dealership, walked around looking for it, talked to a salesman. He had to talk to his sales manager, blah, blah, blah. They didn't have the car yet. Apparently, they had just traded for it, according to the salesman. And the guy that traded for it got a Corvette and was in a motorcycle accident the day that he was supposed to bring this Camaro in. It's like, okay, that's bad. I hope he's okay, but let me know when the car comes in. I was only in Scottsdale for like 3 days. So the next day goes by, this dude still doesn't have the car, and they haven't had any update or anything. So I went to that third dealership that said that they had a car. It was a Riverside Blue Metallic 2019 Camaro ZL1 1LE with the 6-speed transmission. I was like, what the hell are the odds that 2 different dealerships in the same city had the exact same car? One of them had it like $5,000 more than the other, and it was 1,000 miles more on the car, according to their spec sheet. Well, I went to that dealership, and they actually had it. It was actually a Dodge dealership in Peoria, which is like one town on the other side of Phoenix from Scottsdale. Anyways, drove over. There's like 20-minute drive. Go check it out. They have the car. I walk in, and they have a sticker on the car for like I don't know, it's like 8,000 more than what they were advertising more for it. They were advertising it in the like low 60s. I think they were advertising like 61, 63, something like that. And then I show up and they have a sticker on it that says 70,000, 71,000 or 70,900, something like that, over 70 grand. And I'm like, holy crap. The car's immaculate. It's beautiful. It's almost brand new. It has like 2,800 miles on it. I love it. I go test drive it around the block, and I'm like, okay, I'm interested in the car. I really don't want the 1LE package, but all things considered, I really want this car. However, I'm not going to commit to it yet because there's another dealership in Scottsdale that has an identical car with slightly lower miles for a lower price. And he was like, well, that's weird. And he starts looking into it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do the deal yet. So we hold off. Another day goes by. That other dealership still doesn't have the car. And then I'm leaving the next day. So I'm like, clock's ticking. And I decided to go back to the dealership that had this car, start talking to them some more. Long story short, it was the same car. The dealership that said they were getting it in a trade was part of the same dealership family that had the actual car. And it was, the sales manager was pissed when he figured it out. He figured it out because he found the VIN number on their website or something. And I had already negotiated a little bit less price, so I got another 1,000 or 2 off of their advertised price, which was again about $8,000 or $10,000 lower than what they had the sticker on the lot. So at this point, the sales manager was hoping that I wouldn't do the deal because he could definitely make more money. Because there was no other car like this. This is already kind of a rare car because Riverside Blue Metallic was only made for a few years, and it was the first year model of it was a 2019, like this car. So, and it's the top dog Camaro ZL1 1LE. And so basically, after I found out all that, I bought it. I drove it for one night in around Scottsdale and stuff, and then I drove it home then I put it on the trailer and drove home. So here it is, pristine condition. ZL1s are loaded from the factory. There's not really many options. You can choose automatic or manual. You can choose 1LE or not. But they're loaded with all the creature features. So, you know, comparing this to other cars that I've had in the past. So like the EVO, if you follow my YouTube channel, I've got a playlist for the EVO. So the EVO is a 2008 6-speed, or excuse me, a 5-speed. It's a manual. The Camaro is a 2019, also a manual. It's a 6-speed manual. These cars are very different. First thing I'll say is that the Camaro ZL1 has gobs of power. It's a 6.2 liter V8. It's supercharged, and it's only rear wheel drive. So on the street, which I exclusively drive street, I've never gone to a track. I don't really plan on it. Well, I can't say that. I've been to a quarter-mile track a few times, not a whole lot, but the new cars are just so easy to go fast in because let's face it, you're not driving that car. The computer's driving that car. Even though it's a manual, it's still somewhat driver engaging, but it has all the modern computer controlled, I guess, things over the manual transmission. It has rev match, which is a little button you press and it automatically revs up the motor to match the RPMs when you downshift. So the driver no longer has to do any kind of heel toe downshifting, which you really should do on any other manuals, just like this EVO. I heel toe shift this occasionally, but again, on the street, it's not like I'm driving real aggressively or anything like that. I'm just kind of cruising around. So I normally don't heel toe downshift, but I have. I've done it before. I tried it a few times on my old Camaros, but it's a bit of a struggle if the pedals aren't designed right. They're not lined up, and your throttle and your brake and your clutch are all supposed to kind of be on the same plane. And if they're not, it's hard to heel toe, downshift, and stuff like that. Anyways, long story short, the computer does that for you. You don't even have to do that. Also, it has all kinds of computer controlled stuff for launch control. So if you're ever trying to actually time attack, or if you're drag racing, or if you're doing something, like, it has a burnout mode, it line locks. You don't even have to hold the brake. You don't have to try that 2-foot, 3-pedal thing where you dump the clutch and reach over and step on the brake real quick to do a burnout. It does all that for you. You just press a button, you're in launch control. All you gotta do is rev the motor just a little bit, let out the clutch, and you're doing a burnout. Super simple, very easy. And then you press another button and it lets go of the front brakes for you. And then there's another function for launch control where it holds the engine at a certain RPM, which is programmable. I think it's normally 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, something like that. Depends on your tires, of course. And you just let out the clutch. All you got to do is hold the skinny pedal down forever, and that's it. It just goes. Since it's a manual, you still shift gears, but there's another computer thing. It has a no lift shift function. And if you do everything right and you never lift off the throttle, you just hold it down, the computer will automatically get your RPMs right so that you're not blowing up your motor. You just hold down the skinny pedal and you just kind of flick the clutch and pull your gears, and the computer optimizes, I guess, your RPM and everything to make sure you don't hurt anything. And it just kind of no lift shifts the whole time. Whop, whop, whop. It's really cool. It's so easy to drive a manual car, and the automatics are even easier. They're just, grandmas drive them around, no problem. You can go get groceries in the automatic 10 speeds. But the manuals even, or the modern technology they have into driving these things, it's so easy to go fast. And for that reason, I find this car kind of boring, to be honest. It rides hard. It has the 1LE package, like I say, that I didn't really want, which actually makes a stiffer suspension. I think it's still magnetic ride control, but it's always stiff. The wheel tire package is more aggressive. They're 19s instead of 20s, and they're wider everywhere, front and rear. And then it has these front spoilers. I think they're goofy looking. I don't like them. It has a black hood, satin black hood, and then it has this big spoiler on the back. This is all part of the 1LE package. And I think the aero, the big spoilers in the front and the rear, I think it looks kind of goofy. It is super functional. I understand it's designed for time attack track. That's the point. I know it has a function, so I don't think it's dumb. It's just not what I wanted on the street. So, but again, considering the availability, the situation, and I got, I think, a pretty good deal on the car. I think I could sell it now for more money than when I bought it. I got it, and so I drive it maybe once a month. I love driving the EVO a lot more. It's a 2008. It's much more driver engaging. It is all-wheel drive, so there's never traction issues. It will stick no matter what you do. Has less power. They're probably about the same weight, but if you screw up, if you miss a gear, you know it. If you do some kind of if you're in the wrong gear, since it's a turbo 4-cylinder, if you're in the wrong gear, you know it. You need to downshift because the power band isn't nearly as broad. It's real peaky on the turbo 4-cylinder. So it's kind of more fun to drive, in my opinion, because it's so much more engaging. You really have to pay attention to your driving. Whereas this thing, I could be 3 gears off and it would still pull. I could literally take off from a red light in 4th gear by accident. Oh, that's another thing. The computer has a fuel economy shift mode where if you're in 1st gear and you are driving kind of slow, it pushes you into 4th gear instead of 2nd gear. So you can skip 2 whole gears for fuel economy. And the computer kind of makes you do that. There's a little reminder that pops up on the dashboard. You can still shift into 2nd gear, but it's a little bit annoying because it kind of wants to push you into 4th gear. But another reason that a computer is interfering with the driver there. Also, I got new tires with it whenever I bought the car. It only had 2,800 miles on it, and they included a second set of these factory tires, Goodyear Eagle F1s. These are called Supercar 3R, and again, this is like a tire specifically made by GM with Goodyear for this car. And again, they just suck. I've heated them up once. I actually did a burnout like on a off-road somewhere, not off-road, but on a side street somewhere, and you know, they were a little stickier when they were warm, but still, it's just on the street, they're just not a very good tire. But whenever I bought the car, they gave me the old set of tires, which only had 2,800 miles on them. But they were still, you know, it's a soft compound, they show wear. And then, so I got those on my racks in storage, and then now I'm gonna put these 4 in there. I don't like mismatched tires, so I'm getting the Toyos in the back and in the front. I strongly considered Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2, which I understand is a phenomenal tire. And that's what I went in there for whenever I was talking to my buddy Will at Discount Tire. And they weren't really available, and he really liked the Toyo 888 better. And I've also heard really good things about Toyos from a local hot rod shop, as well as some others online. So I kind of thought it was a toss-up between the 888 and the Sport Cup 2s. And considering the availability, like it was months out before we could get them in this size, because it is kind of a unique, it's a 19-inch all the way around. So I got the Toyos, they're in. I'm gonna go get this oil thing fixed. I'm going to do some other stuff while I'm out and around, and then I'm gonna go get these tires put on, and I'll kind of do a review before and after of those new tires. I'm excited about them. Should make this car more fun to drive on the street, because first gear is completely useless. Second gear slips until you're in the higher speeds. So this car really is fast and actually sticks to the ground from about 60 miles an hour to 160 miles an hour. I've never driven it that fast, but that's what this car is for. This is nothing good for 82nd Street in Lubbock. I mean, it's just not a good street car, because, you know, the bumps are rough. There's no traction when it's slow. Everybody wants to race you if you're driving around on a weekend night or something like that. You know, it's real aggressive looking. Everybody just wants to race you. It's fun conversation piece, but you can't stick. You going from red light to red light, it is not fast. It just spins and spins. So it's kind of embarrassing to drive around and never even really entertain a race. It's designed to go to the track and go fast, and it's good at that, but nothing else really. This EVO though catches everybody off guard, because this sucker moves, and again, if I miss a shift, I know it. Driver mistake, and I'll lose some time or lose some speed there. But the Camaro is just so easy to go fast, but you have to really go fast. You can't really do something from 0 to 60 very, very effectively, because you have to like stop and do a burnout and warm up your tires and be on tarmac and blah, blah, blah before you're even capable of trying to get traction. So that's all. I'm just gonna kind of start doing a little bit of plugs on this Camaro. I love the car, it's beautiful, and I don't really intend to drive it much. I'm probably not gonna sell it unless GM does a special final edition of some sort of collector model for the last year model of the Camaro. I've heard rumors of it. I don't think they'll do anything crazy. They might do like a special graphics package, you know, some stripes and some badging that says 30th anniversary final edition or whatever it is. I don't know, but 50th, no, they just had the 50. They might go to 55 years. I think the first year, whatever. They might do some sort of final edition. If it has like the LT5, you know, a bigger engine, or if they do a higher horsepower package, or if they do something different to the car, then I'd be interested in upgrading. But if it's just a little sticker package, I'm probably not going to do it with it. So for right now, it's actually kind of an appreciating asset. So I'm happy to just keep it and park it and for it to grow in value. Because so far they have not made a Camaro at this level yet, that's beyond this level. So I'm kind of happy to have happy to have the top dog right now and to keep it nice and pristine. Great. Thanks. Like and subscribe if you want to see some more Camaro content. Just let me know. That's it.